Is definitely Breath of the Wild for number one on my most iconic Nintendo games list. And it just has to be for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. It was the launch title for the Nintendo Switch. It is definitively, in my mind, the Nintendo Switch game. It was such a moment in history. It I still can't believe this game exists. And obviously, Tears of the Kingdom, I mentioned earlier, as a better video game. And I like Tears of the Kingdom more. But it was more of the same as compared to Breath of the Wild was a complete shakeup of the Zelda formula as we know it. It was definitively the most ambitious game I've ever played up until that point. As far as like, as I was playing it, I was like, I don't know how this exists. The map was huge. There was good enemy variety at the time. Obviously, it doesn't feel as good now with Tears of the Kingdom being out. The story was not there as far as like the most impactful story ever, but that was not what the point of the game was. It was complete and utter freedom. They dropped you into a map and said, what do you want to do? You answer them and they say, okay, go do it. We don't care. We know that this is an objective you can do, but we don't care if you go over here and do this objective instead, or you get distracted along the way. That's kind of the whole point of Breath of the Wild, is to play the game and get distracted. I think that first night when I played for 4 or 5 hours, I didn't even get to Kakariko Village because I was doing shrines. I kept getting distracted by little things. I kept enjoying and admiring the environment. And it was one of those games where I didn't care if I was ahead of the curve and discovering anything first, because I could tell so immediately that this game was going to be one of those where everyone's going to enjoy it differently and everyone's going to have their own unique experience. With that being said, there's no video game on this list that makes me think of the Nintendo Switch more than Breath of the Wild. It is by far and away the game that most people will associate with the Nintendo Switch. In some capacity, it'll be guaranteed on anyone that's played its top 5 list of games that they associate with the Nintendo Switch. Not necessarily their favorites or the best, but it's hard not to associate a game like this with the Nintendo Switch and say that it is a defining video game of the era. It is one of my favorite games of all time. It is one of my favorite video game experiences of all time. And with that being said, it is definitively my number one video game on this list.